It's Tuesday, October 14th, 2025. Welcome to your news update on Blip Briefs, small, but almost everything updated every weekday. So, yesterday felt a little defensive for Indian equities. We saw both the Nifty 50 and the BSE Sensex closing down just slightly by about 2%.
Yeah, not a huge move, but definitely a pause in the upward trend we've seen.
Exactly. So, what was putting the brakes on? Where's the pressure that just nudged the indices down?
Well, it really looks like a case of global worries finally outweighing the strong domestic picture. We actually saw pretty robust foreign institutional inflows. I mean, money was coming in.
Right.
But the noise around U.S.-China trade, that escalating rhetoric, it just created enough background uncertainty to cool things off a bit here.
So, global jitters winning out for the day.
Seems like it. When investors get nervous about global supply chains, they tend to get a bit cautious, even if things look good locally.
Okay, let's dig into that. Who felt the heat the most? Looks like Tata Motors was the sharpest mover downwards among the big names, dropping 2.7%.
Yeah, that's a noticeable drop.
It signals some real market nerves about them, doesn't it?
It does, and it's not just one thing. It's like a combination of worries hitting them all at once. First, there's still that market uncertainty around their demerger plan.
Right, the split.
Exactly. Will splitting commercial and passenger vehicles actually create more value or just, make things more complicated?
Yeah.
Investors aren't fully convinced yet.
Okay, what else?
Second, the old issue of their debt load hasn't gone away. That's still a factor. And third, just a general kind of skepticism about the sheer amount of capital needed for their big EV push.
A lot of questions hanging over them.
Yeah, the market wants more clarity. Until then, you're likely to see this kind of volatility.
But it wasn't red across the board, was it? We saw some pockets holding up well. Adani Ports actually surged 2.0%.
Right, suggesting continued confidence in India's whole logistics story.
And financials look strong, too. Bajaj Auto and Bajaj Finance both climbed about 1.3%.
Absolutely. So definitely selective buying. The market's rewarding what it sees as stability or clear growth paths.
And speaking of growth, HCL Tech's Q2 results. That seems like a pretty positive signal for the whole IT space.
Oh, it was a massive signal. Really encouraging.
Okay, break it down for us. What did their numbers actually show?
Well, they showed that the shift towards higher-end digital services is really, really working. Revenue was up a solid 10.7% year-on-year.
That's strong.
Very strong. But what really shows good health right now is the sequential profit jump, up 10.2%. That points to excellent execution.
Okay.
But here's the kicker, the part that got everyone talking, and it really validates the whole sector strategy. HCL Tech reported revenues specifically from AI-related services.
Ah, the AI piece. How much?
It crossed the nine-figure dollar mark for the quarter.
9 figures. Wow, that's not just significant. That feels like a major milestone.
Exactly. It confirms that big companies are moving past just experimenting with generative AI. They're doing large-scale, real-world implementations now.
So Gen AI consulting is now a serious revenue driver.
Absolutely. It sets a new bar, really, for profitability in that space. Signals to competitors, the Infosys and TCS crowd, that this is where the big money is shifting.
Interesting. Okay, let's switch gears to IPOs. Tata Capital had its debut, but it was pretty modest, right? Listing at just a 1.2% premium.
Yeah, quite subdued, especially given the general hunger for new issues we've seen.
So why so soft? Were the initial valuations maybe a bit too high?
That seems to be the consensus. Analysts felt it was already priced richly, as they say. Meaning, compared to similar listed NBFCs, its debt ratios and forward earnings were already baked into the price kind of at the top end. There just wasn't much room left for that immediate first-day pop.
Okay, so price to perfection, almost.
Pretty much. But that hasn't killed the overall IPO buzz. All eyes are now shifting to the upcoming LG Electronics India listing.
And the prediction there is much stronger, isn't it? Analysts talking about debut gains maybe 30%, 35%.
Yeah, that's the range people are throwing around. And that confidence comes from two places. First, the valuations LG is apparently going for seem more attractive.
Right.
And second, there's just huge underlying confidence in the Indian consumer electronics market. Plus, you mentioned the appetite. It's definitely there.
The institutional demand is massive.
Undeniable. Just look at the recent subscription numbers. Rubicon Research IPO subscribed over 103 times.
That's incredible.
And even the big Canara Robeco AMC IPO subscribed 9.7 times overall. But look at the institutional part. The QIBs subscribed nearly 26 times their quota.
So the big money is definitely eager, but they're being picky.
Highly selective, yes.
All right, let's step away from the markets for a moment and talk macro, the big domestic positive inflation relief.
Yes. This is genuinely fantastic news for everyone, really consumers. The RBI. Retail inflation plunged to an 8-year low of 1.54%.
An 8-year low. That gives the central bank a lot of wiggle room, doesn't it?
Massive breathing room.
What was the main driver pulling that number down so much?
It's almost entirely about food prices. They stayed in negative territory for the 4th month running.
4th month negative for food. Wow.
Yeah. Mostly stability and things like seasonal vegetables, pulses, probably helped by better supply chains and, decent monsoon effects. It shows the underlying system is managing supplies better.
Good news. And meanwhile, government finances look pretty healthy too. Net direct tax collections up 6.3% year-on-year so far this fiscal.
Yeah, solid growth there shows the tax base is holding up well, which, again, gives policymakers more options.
Okay, now currency, the rupee. It weakened a bit against the dollar during the day, but ended up almost flat. What does that tell you?
Well, if global pressures are up and the dollar is strong, the fact the rupee didn't breach its record lows
Suggests intervention.
It almost certainly confirms it. That stability points strongly to the RBI stepping in, managing the volatility.
But what does that imply? If intervention was needed just to keep it flat, does that mean the underlying global pressure, like those trade tensions, is actually quite strong right now?
That's a great point. It suggests the RBI sees the current global stress as serious enough to warrant using some reserves to prevent a sharper fall, maybe avoid panic or capital flight.
So prioritizing stability in the short term.
Exactly. Managing that immediate risk, even if it means the currency isn't finding its pure market level. But it does underscore that vulnerability to global headlines.
And that vulnerability seems to be driving a huge rush into safe havens. Gold climbed 1.8%, another record high, tied directly to those U.S.-China tensions.
Yep, classic safe haven move.
But silver had an absolutely wild day.
Just spectacular. Went vertical. Hit an all-time record high after a massive single-day jump, domestically equivalent to something like an 11,000 INR per kilogram gain.
That kind of move in one day is almost unheard of.
It really is. And it seems to be driven by two things hitting at once.
Yeah.
First, yes, the usual flight to safety, maybe some FOMO kicking in.
Right.
But crucially, there seems to be a genuine global shortage brewing, driven by its increasing industrial use, invasion, solar panels, EVs. It's not just money anymore, it's essential tech.
Investment demand meets industrial demand, plus a shortage. Potent mix.
Very potent.
Now, amidst all this global friction, we are seeing some policy moves to try and smooth things out. The RBI eased rules for lending in rupees for cross-border trade.
Yeah, that's a smart move. Simplifies trade finance, reduces currency risk for partners dealing with India, just makes things easier.
And that focus on making things easier extends to logistics, too. The PM Gata Shakti portal opening up to the private sector.
Exactly. That's about using private sector data and expertise to cut down logistical bottlenecks, speed up infrastructure projects. Yeah. Directly helps companies like, say, Adani Ports, who we saw gaining earlier.
Connecting policy to real-world investment. And speaking of investment, let's look at global shifts and foreign money coming into India. Two big stories there. First, tech. Foxconn doubling down in Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, a huge additional investment, equivalent to around 15,000 crore.
What's the significance of that?
Well, it reinforces India's role as a key manufacturing hub outside China. And it's not just assembly anymore. They're moving into higher value component production. It's a big vote of confidence.
And the second big flow, in banking. Emirates NBD looking to buy a stake in RBL Bank.
Right. The second largest bank in the UAE is in advanced talks for a controlling stake. That's quite significant for the Indian private banking space.
Why so significant?
Because it signals strong foreign confidence, not just in India's growth story, but specifically in the quality and stability of its private banking sector and regulation. They see value and long-term potential there.
So India is seen as a high-quality destination for financial capital.
Definitely seems that way.
Okay, let's loop back to the main global disruptor we mentioned at the start, the U.S.-China friction. What are the immediate, tangible impacts we're seeing from this latest escalation?
We're seeing real effects now. China tightening its supply of rare earth magnets. That's already slowing down specific tech supply chains globally.
Well, like what kind of tech?
Things like specialized motors, sensors, high-end electronics. It's not just a threat, it's actually creating bottlenecks in manufacturing right now.
And the market reaction to risk was instant, wasn't it? That crypto market liquidation right after Trump's tariff news broke?
Absolutely sharp and swift. Wiped out an equivalent of $19 billion globally almost immediately.
Wow.
It shows how hypersensitive risk assets are to this kind of geopolitical news. Crypto often acts like the canary in the coal mine for broader market risk appetite.
And meanwhile, on the trade negotiation front.
Indy negotiators are actually heading to the U.S. this week for bilateral talks.
Yeah.
But challenges remain elsewhere. Steel and autos are still sticking points in the ongoing trade discussions with the EU.
Got it. Okay, a final quick scan of geopolitics and positive news from the Middle East. The Gaza ceasefire agreement seems to be holding. First step achieved.
Yes, that first step, the release of 20 Israeli hostages for 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, seems to have been successful. India supported that deal, and it's a crucial, if small, confidence-building measure. A glimmer of hope there.
Much needed. But, in contrast, instability elsewhere. Madagascar.
Yeah, quite a dramatic situation unfolding there. President Rajoelina apparently fled the country after an alleged assassination attempt. This is happening amid military support for youth-led protests.
So, serious political turmoil.
Classic signs of civil unrest potentially spiraling. A reminder of the political fragility in many parts of the world right now.
Okay, let's wrap up this deep dive now with our innovation beat. One big piece of scientific news that sounds genuinely exciting.
Yes, this is potentially huge. It comes from researchers at UMass Amherst. They've developed a new kind of cancer vaccine based on nanoparticles.
Nanoparticle vaccine. How does it work differently?
Well, the lab results are pretty stunning. They tested on mice with some of the toughest cancers, melanoma, pancreatic, and triple-negative breast cancer.
And the results?
They basically stopped those cancers cold. Up to 88% of the mice remain tumor-free, which is remarkable for these types of aggressive cancers.
Incredible. So why is it so effective? What's the mechanism?
The key seems to be that it triggers a multi-pathway immune response.
Multi-pathway. Explain that.
Okay, so think of many current immunotherapies, like trying to hit the cancer with one specific weapon, targeting one specific marker or pathway. If the cancer adapts, it can dodge that single attack.
Right.
This nanoparticle vaccine, though, it essentially teaches the immune system to attack the cancer from multiple angles at the same time, using several different defense mechanisms.
Like a coordinated attack.
Exactly. It makes it much harder for the tumor to hide or develop resistance. And that multi-pronged approach is seen as really vital for tackling these notoriously difficult-to-treat tumors. A major potential advance.
Truly groundbreaking if it translates to humans. Okay, that's a hopeful note to end on. And just before you go, a quick note. This deep dive commentary was put together using advanced AI. We always strive for accuracy, but please do cross-verify any crucial information yourself. Your informed decisions are what matter most.